welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, glad to have you back. Thank you for being here. As you saw from the title, I am going to be talking about the books I've read so far this year. It's morning. So I'm drinking my coffee. I'm comfy. I feel like most of the time now when I film videos, I am not like styling my hair, doing my makeup. I'm just being comfy because I think about like when I'm watching ASMR, I'm laying in bed being comfy. So I don't know. I like when other creators are just kind of like, I don't know. Anyways, good morning. Or it might not be morning when you're watching this, but it's morning for me. I've got my coffee here. And I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read. I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read so far this year. So I mentioned this in a recent video that my reading is kind of inconsistent from month to month. So I'm not really somebody that's going to do like monthly reading wrap-ups just because, for example, I think so far this year I've read 10 books, but I didn't finish any books in February because February was a busy month. So I'm a little sporadic, but yeah, I don't know how many books I read. 2, 4, 6. Okay, I've read 8 books so far. Finished 8 books. I have a couple that I'm reading currently that I'm going to finish soon. But I finished 8 books. I'm going to talk about them with you, share them with you today. I will say I only have 4 of them physically. The ones I don't have physical copies of, I'll insert a cover photo of them so you can see what I'm talking about. But so a couple of these books I read ebook, library book. One of them I do own a physical copy, but I've lent it to a friend. So I'll show you the books I have, make some bookish sounds, and kind of talk about what the book's about, what I thought of it, that sort of thing. So we're gonna start with the first book I finished this year. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I feel like my cup is distracting. First book I finished this year, which is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So, Ariadne is a mythical retelling, or maybe it's, yeah, I think so. It's a Greek, like, mythology retelling of Ariadne, who's a princess of Crete. I don't know anything about Greek mythology, guys, okay? So this is not my normal type of book. I picked this up on like a blind date with a book type of deal in the fall. And so it's been sitting on my shelf since the fall, and I've been wanting to read it, but I just kind of like, I don't know, I had to be in the mood for it. It's funny because I have this thing where I say that, you know, fantasy, which like this is, right? It's like a mythological retelling, I guess. So fantasy, things set in a different time, sci-fi, like all of that. I always say that that's not my type of book and that I like realistic fiction. But as I go through this list of books that I've read, I'm sort of starting to undo these like preconceived notions I have about myself and what I like to read, which is always kind of exciting and interesting. So I will start by saying I did give this book 3.5 stars. I don't write reviews for books. I just kind of give like a star rating based on how I'm feeling, and then I move on. It's not like movies. I don't write random reviews about my books. And I did finish this one a couple months ago. But I remember really enjoying the sort of like character study of this book. It's told from two different perspectives, so Ariadne's perspective and then her sister Phaedra. And I guess essentially, I don't like to read the backs of books. I don't like when people read to me during these style of videos, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just sort of like looking at it to try to remember. Basically, Ariadne, my cats are going crazy upstairs. I don't know if you can hear that. But basically, Ariadne is, there's a prince, a nearby prince, who is basically going on like a noble quest. I don't want to give too many details, but Ariadne like sets her sights on helping him and then escaping with him to like his kingdom and leaving her younger sister Phaedra behind. That's basically what happens. And so this story sort of goes back and forth between Ariadne's perspective and this new journey and how nothing is what she thought it would be, and then Phaedra's point of view of staying behind in their kingdom under the rule of their father, who's a king. And this is a story that spans a long time. It's like over a decade. And it just sort of goes back and forth between these perspectives, and it keeps up with these women and how different their lives become. Even though they were, of course, raised in the same family, in the same house. I really liked it. I really loved the characters in this. They're very like independent, kind of strong women whose lives take very different turns. And so I was really invested in that more than I was in the like mythological and like fantastical elements. I really liked this. I don't know that I would be in a hurry to read another Greek mythology retelling soon, but I did really like this one. I remember the writing being really beautiful. So, to my knowledge, Jennifer Saint has only written novels in this genre, so I don't know that I'll be returning to her as an author, but I would be interested to see her write something in a different genre. Okay. So the next book I finished. I don't have a physical copy of this one because I read the ebook. This is a fan fiction, guys. This is Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. So again, it's so funny because I'm like, oh, like I don't read fantasy. This is literally a fan fiction, a Harry Potter fan fiction. So I actually talked about it on this channel years ago. I read a Dramione, Draco and Hermione fan fiction a few years ago that blew my mind, that I loved. I can't remember what it was called. Again, I talked about it on this channel. This might have been like 4 years ago now. And then hadn't returned to it since. Kathleen Lights, if you guys know her, she does a lot of beauty videos, but she also does a lot of book videos. Kathleen Lights, if I remember, I'll put her channel in the description, but she talked about this being like her favorite Dramione fanfiction, like randomly in a favorites video, and I was like, maybe I should try it. One thing about fanfiction is I hate reading books on my iPad. I'm such a physical book person. I never got into the like Kindle craze. I like a physical book. That being said, I wanted to give this a shot, and oh my gosh, I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it. It was like a slow burn, really slow burn romance. It's like kind of like a forced, no, yeah, like sort of like a forced proximity. So this takes place after the books, like after the war. The good side, you know, wins the war. At the end of Harry Potter, you guys know this. And then essentially, I guess Hermione works in like a Muggle research lab. I can't remember what college she works at, maybe Cambridge, something like that. And she also works still in the wizarding world. But she's doing some kind of research, developing some kind of project technology in the wizarding world that is basically people are after her. And so Draco works for the ministry, and he is assigned protection detail of Hermione. And you know, they don't get along, and he kind of has to follow her everywhere, and he's also trying to figure out what she's up to because it's like top secret, he's not allowed to know. And of course they fall in love. There is some like smut, some spice, like sexy scenes, but they don't come until later in the book. This is a slow burn. And I do think that the sex scenes are very well written. And I am also normally not a romance reader, but I really enjoy it. This is a long book. Okay, I'm trying to see who wrote it and look the page length. I can't figure it out off the top here, but this is a long book, and I devoured this. I could not stop reading this. This was like, during the time that I was reading this, I couldn't wait to come home from work to read it, like all day long. I'd be like, oh my god, I can't wait to get home, get comfy, and sit and read my book. I was reading this for like hours a night, like going to bed late, like falling asleep reading. It had been a really long time since I'd been so invested in a book this way. So yeah, I really liked this. I thought that the author did a great job in continuing the characters that we know and love, but still but making them adult. Like, they still were written and felt like Hermione and Draco, and there are plenty of other characters involved that we know. It still felt like those characters, but just grown up, which I feel like would be really hard to do. So I really enjoyed this. I had the best time, and I'm currently reading another Dramione fanfiction because I loved this one so much. So I'm sure you'll hear about that in a future video, but drop your, it doesn't have to be Dramione, even though that's kind of what I'm interested in reading, but drop your Harry Potter fanfiction recommendations below, and I will check them out. Okay, so next I do a physical copy of this one. Next I read Never Lie. Never Lie by Frida McFadden. So my boyfriend is a Frida McFadden fan. He has a lot of her books, and I did read The Housemaid right before the Housemaid movie came out. This also isn't like my typical genre. I do like thrillers, mysteries, but I like books that are maybe a little bit like higher level as far as writing goes. Not so like, I don't know, these are meant to be like quick reads that appeal to mass audiences, and that's not necessarily my thing. So I read The Housemaid. I didn't really care for it, but this was my boyfriend's favorite of hers, so he was like, read this one, see what you think. I gave this one 2.5 stars, which is fine. That's like, okay, this was fine. I read it really quickly, as is the nature of it. It's also not very long, but this is about a married couple who is house hunting, and they drive out to this house that they're looking at that's for sale, and there is a snowstorm, and they basically get stuck, and so they have to stay overnight in this like empty house. And they find out that the woman who previously lived in the home, who owned the home, one, went missing and is like presumed dead, and two, was a therapist, and she did her therapy sessions in the house. And essentially, okay, this isn't a spoiler because it says it on the back, but very early, the wife, the woman in the couple, she finds tapes. The therapist recorded all of her sessions. She finds a room of tapes and starts listening to the therapy sessions. So it's kind of written like in the present with the couple in the house, but also the tapes, and we learn about the therapist's life. So it's a dual perspective again, told from the wife's perspective and then from the therapist, the missing therapist's perspective, while they're stuck in this house. And basically the wife makes it her mission to find out what happened to this therapist, and bit by bit things are revealed in these session tapes. I thought the premise was really fun, so I did kind of speed through this. I did want to know what happened, but it became like, Freida McFadden is known for her twists, and I think she writes for the sake of trying to trick the reader instead of writing for like it to be good. Like, she purposely tries to make the reader think, oh, it must be this, and then actually it's this, but it's like to the detriment of the plot, in my opinion. This is what I've noticed. I read a couple of her books now. I'm good. I read 3. I gave it a try. Again, this is like, my boyfriend likes these books, so I was like, okay, I'll read a few of them. Not my thing. But I totally get why other people are like obsessed with her. So, if this is your thing, I'm not yucking your yum. I'm just saying it's not my thing. This is a really quick read. If you're in a reading slump and you're trying to move through something fast, I would recommend this. I don't know how much I'll enjoy it, but it goes quick. The chapters are short. Okay, next book I read is definitely my favorite by far. I don't have the physical copy because I did rent this one from the library. And so far this is my only 5-star read of the year. And probably my favorite book that I've read in a long, long time. So this is Stephen King's 11/22/63. Before I even tell you what the book's about, I have to tell you like how I found this book and decided to read it. So there is a TikToker, and he may have a YouTube channel. I'm actually not sure. You guys see Pumpkin behind me? Hi, Pumpkin. Hey, Karen. I will put his name on the screen or in the description box. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he made a TikTok video that was like, comment down below like a photo of you, and I will recommend a book to you like based on your vibe. Well, he recommended 11/22/63 to me, and I haven't read a Stephen King book in a really long time. I have read a couple of his, but not since I was like in high school, I think. He recommended this book to me, and so I picked it up. I loved it. Like I said, this is 5-star. This is quite a long book, like 1,000 pages maybe, something like that. And it took me some time to read, but I loved it. So, like I said, it's called 11/22/63, and this is about a man in like modern times who he lives in a small town, and this small town like diner owner that he's friends with basically comes to him and says, I found a way to time travel, and every time I step into this like sort of time travel world, it takes me back to, it's not 1963, it's 1950 something, but it takes him back to the exact same day in their same small town, in the 50s. And they essentially devise a plot to go back in time and prevent JFK's assassination, which takes place on 11/22/63, I think. The plot was like, okay, that's kind of crazy. Time travel, I don't know how I feel about that. And also Stephen King, like, I thought this Stephen King writes horror. Okay. This book is an epic that spans, it spans a lot of time, but like the main character, who's like a teacher and becomes a time traveler randomly all of a sudden, the main character is very likable. He's very relatable. He's kind of like the everyman, like, you know, a guy like this, basically. He's like a typical, like, small town guy. It is like a joy to like go along with him, time travel with him. He is just like a joy to spend 1,000 pages with. It's impossible to not like this guy. And he meets friends along the way, and he goes back in time into the present multiple times, and he decides to try to prevent some other crimes, and sort of finds out, you know, the limits of time travel, and how if you mess with the past too much, it can drastically affect the present. So then he'd go back and do some do-overs, and it's just like this long journey in this epic where we follow this man who is trying to change this like massive world-changing event. And also we get to love his sort of friendship with this diner owner, as they're the only ones that know about the time travel. And so their sort of friendship and like camaraderie is really special. This is there's a lot of violence and a lot of kind of like disturbing things happening in this book, but I absolutely loved it. I loved the adventure. I thought everything was explained really well. You know, time travel I feel like can be tricky to write about and read about and like fully understand. Stephen King is just the master. Like, there's a reason he's so beloved, and he's so like renowned. I just like want everybody to read this. I know there's a TV show, I think starring James Franco. I've not watched the series yet. I do plan to. I've just been watching other stuff. There's no way that the series is going to even remotely compare to the book, because the book was so fantastic, but I really urge you to go check this out. It is a long one, but like the epic adventure is so worth it, and you've got to check it out. It's not horror, so if you're not like a horror typical Stephen King reader, I wouldn't be deterred. Like I said, there is violence and some disturbing kind of like imagery, but overall, this is really, really cool. I think it's like, it's also has a lot of really great American history in a way that's really accessible. So I learned a lot while reading this too. I just can't say enough good things about 11/22/63. So go check it out, and also recommend some more Stephen King to me below. I think I've only read The Shining, Misery, and one other one. So definitely leave those recs below. Next is another book I don't have the physical copy of, so sorry, but it's Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. I listened to this on audiobook. Jeanette McCurdy narrates it. So her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, is a 5-star read for me. I loved it, and I did talk about it on this channel a few years ago. So I was really excited that she was coming out with a fiction book. I did not like this book. I gave it 2.5 stars, but honestly, I think I would rate it lower than that now, because looking back, like, I really did not like this book. This is told from the perspective of a teenage high school girl, as she is in a predatory relationship with her teacher, her male teacher. Just the premise alone, I was not happy. I was not thrilled about. I don't like stuff like this. I don't like reading about child victims not my thing. But I love Jenna McCurdy's writing, so I wanted to give it a go. I honestly felt like this almost, in some ways, glamorized like these type, I don't even want to call them relationships, right? Because you can't have a relationship with a child if you're an adult. You can't have a romantic relationship. You're a predator. So I do think it sort of romanticized because it was told from the perspective of the child, of the teenager. And I felt that it was far, 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 far too graphic. Again, I don't mind graphic, like sex scenes, but these are SA scenes. These are assault scenes because this is an adult and a child. And I was really uncomfortable, not in a good way. I like to be uncomfortable when I read sometimes. I like to be challenged. I like to feel uncomfortable and squirm a little bit. No, this was way, 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 way too... I do not want to read graphic sex scenes between a child and an adult because an adult cannot have consensual relations with a child. That's not a thing. So I really, 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 really struggled with this book, and I thought it was written, I don't know, it was nothing like her memoir. I did not enjoy her writing style at all. I just really, really struggled with this one. So if you've made it this far and you haven't read it because it was such a craze when it came out, you're not missing anything. I just skipped this one altogether. Okay, next book I read, I do have a physical copy, but I didn't like this one either. And this is Bluets by Maggie Nelson. Can you see it? Can you see it? There she is. This is Bluets. This is Bluets. So when I first bought this book, it was marked as essay, like as an essay collection. It's not really an essay collection. They're very short little blurbs that kind of all go together. This is very teeny tiny guy. They're like short blurbs that all go together. And I don't know, this left a lot to be desired for me. I did flag a couple of them that were interesting. Like, here, I'll show you a page so you can see. Like, so all of these little separated are different numbered little, like they tell a story, but they're all these separate little, I don't know, like jottings, blurbs. And to me, I don't know, that's like not really my thing. So I tried something different. It wasn't my thing. This is basically about kind of like not an abusive relationship, but I think in a relationship where she cared about this person and this person did not really care about her. Like a one-sided kind of thing is what I got out of it. And the writer, like the character, or maybe it's Maggie Nelson herself, the character, is like obsessed with the color blue. Like it was literally Bluets. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't connect to this at all. Here's a line I flagged. If he hadn't lied to you, he would have been a different person than he is. I'll just read all the little snippets that I flagged. Or maybe not all of them. I have been trying for some time now to find dignity in my loneliness. I have been finding this hard to do. So I'll read one more. Okay, one more. I never aimed to give you a talisman, an empty vessel to flood with whatever longing, dread, or sorrow happened to be the day's mood. I wrote it because I had something to say to you. So there are some lines in this that I thought were beautiful. If I actually don't know about any of her other writing, but if Maggie Nelson has a novel, like a traditional formatted novel, I would give that a try. I do think it's beautiful writing. I just didn't connect to it at all, and like I sat and read this in an afternoon, and then I was like totally unfulfilled by it. So if different like formats and experimental like essays and lit are your thing, you would probably love this, but just not for me. Really pretty though, and I like how it has this sort of like soft touch. I don't know how to describe it. You can probably hear what I mean. It's almost like waxy feeling. I do like that. Okay, 2 left. This next one, I lent my physical copy to my boss at work actually, because I was talking about the book and she was like, oh, can I borrow it? I want to read it. And that is Project Hail Mary. I just talked about this in my movie video for March, but yeah. So I read Project Hail Mary specifically before I wanted to read it before the movie came out, and I literally finished it the day before I went to see the movie, so I timed it perfectly. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, because of the Ryan Gosling movie. I'm sure you know what this is about, but it's essentially these scientists find that there's like a space algae that is eating the sun and is essentially going to kill Earth. Like it's the Earth needs the sun, right? And so there's sort of this like impending extinction of human beings. And the character that Ryan Gosling plays is like a middle school science teacher who, during his like when he was getting his PhD, he wrote a research paper that was highly refuted by other scientists and totally went against what they'd been saying, and essentially what he wrote supports now this like space algae. And so these leading scientists find his paper and they find him and they get him to be part of helping to send these astronauts out to hopefully save Earth as like a Hail Mary mission to try to save Earth. And spoiler alert, this man who's the teacher, he ends up going into space, even though he's not an astronaut, he's just a middle school science teacher, and he ends up going to space to save the planet. So this is told in the perspective of him currently in space, but also in the past as his like memories come back. He was basically in like an induced coma to go out to space because it's like a several-year trip, and his memories come back slowly of like why he's there and how he got there. Again, I don't typically read like sci-fi, but I need to stop saying that because I gave 5 stars to a book about time traveling. So apparently I do read sci-fi and all these other genres, but I gave this 4 stars. I did really enjoy reading it. I was really immersed, which I think is hard to do when there's not very many actual characters. But I really enjoyed it. I did not read The Martian by Andy Weir, but I might consider that now. I did read like, I've read some other books that reminded me of this, like Ready Player One, although it's not about space. I remember loving Ready Player One. It had, I don't know, like some similarities to me in the story structure. I don't know why, but I thought of that book when I was reading this, even though they're quite different. But I really like this. I think if you like sci-fi, you'll definitely enjoy this. If you don't like sci-fi, it might be a harder sell. The book, at least far more than the movie, is very science heavy, which I really enjoyed. I learned some things. I like to read something where I can also learn about something real. So like science or like biology and things like that, space. Like when I was reading 11/22/63 and I got to learn a lot about American history, that's really cool to me. So I guess I like stuff like that. But this is a little bit of a longer book. I want to say it's around 500 pages, and it is a little bit dense because of all the science and the spaceness. But definitely worth reading. I liked it a lot better like than the movie. I really liked the movie, but as an adaptation, it's just so hard to get an adaptation that covers all of the parts of the book that you want to see. Like, you can't please everybody with an adaptation. So if you liked the movie, definitely read the book. And if you haven't watched the movie yet, check out the book before you see the movie. I liked it, and I'm glad that I read the book. Okay, last book that I finished that we're going to talk about. I really finished on the last day of March, in the nick of time, and that is The Unworthy by Augustina Basterka, who is the author of Tender is the Flesh, which I think I talked about on this channel. There's her signature. This is a signed copy. I bought this like right when it released, I think 2 years ago. Copyright 2023. Okay, English language translation copyright 2025. This is the English translation. I don't speak any other languages, unfortunately. So yeah, I bought this last year. The signed edition was at one of my local bookstores, and I really enjoyed Tender is the Flesh. It's on my favorite shelf. This one I didn't enjoy so much. I gave this 2.5 stars. It was fine. It's about this girl who, this takes place in like a dystopian world. Seems like it's in the future. We don't get a lot of information, but this girl lives in a convent, basically, that is meant to protect these women from what's going on in the real world. But really, they're like tortured, and I don't know. This book's hard to explain because she sort of intentionally keeps the reader in the dark. Like, we don't really know what's going on. It seems like there's some kind of like climate change related like apocalypse kind of, and that these women sort of escaped and found this convent like that's guarded and deep in the woods, and then they got taken in, and there's some sort of like hierarchical structure happening in this, and there's like a godlike figure that we don't really learn about. He's just referred to as he or him, similar to like how God typically is. So something that I remember liking about Tender is the Flesh is that the reader is kept in the dark for a lot of the story. We don't totally know what's going on until like the end. I think we were kept a little bit too in the dark, and most of the time I had no fucking clue what was happening in a way that made me want to not read the book. It's really beautifully written, and I enjoyed, like, it's supposed to be like, this is all written as like the diary of the main character, so I enjoyed her perspective in the way that like a chapter would just finish like mid-sentence, like she stopped writing and then like put her journal away. So it was really like disjointed, and we didn't really discover a lot of what was happening, but I thought the ending of the book was really beautiful, and we got some explanation, but I wish we would have gotten a little bit more throughout, because it's just really hard to like put my faith in the author and just like hope that she would explain things to me a little bit. So I guess I just wish we got just like a little more like coherent storytelling. I don't know, this was tough, but there were some there's kind of like a sapphic love story in this, sapphic romance between two of the women in the convent, so we get a little bit of that. We get a little bit of the main character's sort of backstory and like how she got there, a little bit of the outside world, but it just like kind of left me wanting more and wishing we got some more information. So I don't know, if you like her writing style and you enjoy Tender is the Flesh, give this a read. It just ended up not being like, I don't know, it left me unsatisfied. So that's my thoughts on The Unworthy. So that's my 8 books that I read so far this year. That's what I have to share with you. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read any of these. I'll leave my Fable down below. If you guys want to follow me on Fable, that's what I've been using. I used to use Goodreads, but I'm using Fable this year to try it out. yeah, let me know. Okay, I'll see you guys in my next video. I hope that you're staying safe, happy, and healthy. Thank you for watching. Bye.